right. Yeah. Oh, this is nice.
Shouts to
It's a
Road
nice
Gin.
gin. Yeah. So yeah, today I am joined by Kevin Dhir, another Kevin.
Woo, let's go Kevin's.
And I guess your gamer tag is just Dhir. All right.
A little bit boring.
No, that's cool. You have a cool last name, Dhir, Dhir, right? Yeah, and you are a tournament organizer, which is kind of interesting to me because you're kind of one of the newer gen tournament organizers. You're very young. I think I don't know. Were you like 26 years old or something?
27. Yeah.
27 now. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
97
and so
gang.
yeah, and I guess you kind of have a background in Vancouver. I had just gone there. You had invited me to go speak at an event called CEGIS, which is is kind of like a summit, I guess, for
The Canadian Esports and Gaming Industry Summit.
Yeah. Sounds
It's a mouthful. It's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. But yeah, that event was kind of interesting because it had people from all levels of gaming, competitive gaming, and esports, all the way down up to, I should say, people who have access to the government, who directly speak with the government, and there's people that come directly from the scene, like me and others. And so, what was kind of, I guess this is kind of the first of its kind, or I haven't really heard of anything else like it. How did this come about, and what was your kind of thought process behind it?
Yeah, I've wanted to do an event like CEGIS for a while. I'm more than just a tournament organizer. I love organizing events that bring people together. And for me, I noticed like in the esports space, there's so many people, at least in Canada, who are trying to do cool things on so many different levels, as you called out. Like there's the schools that have these esports programs that they're building. There's cities that are like trying to bid for esports events to come to them. There's organizers. There's so many different levels that don't really talk to each other or connect with one another. And in Canada, there's not really a sense, at least until CEGIS happened, of like a business community. So I really just wanted to start bringing these people into the same room so they can start actually chatting with each other, getting to know each other, and build this sense of community across the country and really kickstart the esports industry a little bit more, because it's super fragmented otherwise.
Yeah. It was kind of funny because at one point it really did feel like everybody just being put together in one room and just kind of like figuring things out. But there are people that are usually very distant from each other, right? So one of the big things is if you think about like in the FGC, the term esports is cringe to a lot of people. I mean it's a little bit different now because it's kind of everywhere and it's a very common thing. It's FGC's kind of been plugged in a way that's kind of indisputable now. But I guess like even in terms of just community built events versus like stuff, the government funded stuff where it can be kind of out of touch for lack of a better term. But there have been moments where so from my perspective as somebody who's kind of done tournament organizing on not a scale as you have, but have been involved in that space a little bit. I've seen some events that, for example, there was a government event that basically, they wanted, I think it was Tekken, and they did the event, but they did not want certain characters to be picked in the tournament because they're too like gross or whatever. Like I think like Yoshimitsu and Gigas. I think they didn't want non-human characters, so I guess that would make Blanca. I guess Mena RD would have to find someone else or whatever if he were to join that tournament. But there's things like that, and obviously
competitive integrity.
Yeah, obviously now that's kind of like those people at that level, at the government level, they're not going to be thinking about like they just look at this game and it's just a bunch of button mashing. But then from like the community perspective, it's like, no, you can't play a game like that, right? And I don't know, how do you feel that can get reconciled? Is it really a matter of putting a bunch of people in one room and just talking it out? And maybe that's what it is. Maybe that needs to happen. But yeah, there's that disconnect. How do you think that will be reconciled, if it's even possible?
Yeah, I mean, I really do think it is the talking it out, because these people are so out of touch with what's going on the ground level, a lot of them, and they don't really even have the people to talk to. They sometimes just think, yeah, these gamers are just gamers. Getting them in touch with more people who are professionals professionals who also know esports endemically. Like, the thing is, these people want to ultimately support esports and help build gaming. They just don't necessarily know how to do it and what avenues to do it. They need people who are endemic, who actually understand the actual gaming communities on the ground level to support them. Like, one of the quotes from one of the guys at CEGIS, Scott, was like, they try really hard to speak our language, but like, I mean, some random 40-something-year-old who has no gaming experience, he can try and try and try, but he will not understand why Blanca needs to be not banned in this thing necessarily, right? He needs somebody who's endemic to be able to explain it to him, maybe in terms he understands, or to just have the expertise deferred, right? They need the experts from the scene to be able to actually help them with these things so that they're not just making these decisions unilaterally. So I think it is really just having these conversations.
Yeah. So I guess I kind of want to go back a little bit to your background as a Vancouverite. Is that a word?
Vancouverite's the right word.
Oh, okay. I just I hit and when I went to Vancouver, I noticed it's a city. It's definitely like a big city. But there's a lot of nature. There's like, you can go outside. You can go hiking, I'm sure, right?
Yeah,
there's like
it's beautiful hikes. Yeah, we're literally in a rainforest, which is beautiful.
Yeah. My joke, I think I tweeted out that it's basically you can have like an office job at Microsoft, and then like on your lunch break you can just go LARPing outside. It's that beautiful outside, and so I guess. What is your background like, coming from Vancouver, and I guess what was the gaming scene like there? I know maybe arcades. I don't know your experience with arcades. You have a Smash background, right?
We do have arcades. I mean, CHQ is where actually Vancouver Street Battle started. So Vancouver Street Battle was like the roots for all of our FGC stuff. Air Ryu, back in the day, Kenny started it up, and it started in an arcade in CHQ, which I think you and Justin Wong went to actually during Battle of BC.
Yeah.
A random arcade in Richmond that smells like cigarettes all the time.
Yeah.
That's where it all started out there. Espot. Yeah. Espot, CHQ. Yeah, Espot. Sorry, CHQ is the other one, but CHQ is also one of the main arcades. But yeah, my intro to fighting games actually started in arcades. There's an arcade in the mall called CHQ, and I used to go there and play Street Fighter 4. And we had the whole system. You put down your quarter, you wait in line. And that was my introduction to it all. I actually gave myself carpal tunnel syndrome playing on those setups back in the day. That was my first taste of competitive fighting games. So Vancouver's always had quite the scene for fighting games. There's always been fighting gamers. My intro into organizing things started in high school. So I was actually into League of Legends starting in grade 9. So we're talking like 2011, 2012 is when I got into League. And I started my own club at my high school called Churchill Esports. Basically, one day on a weekend, there was like 10 of us rather, just randomly on League of Legends. So I coordinated an in-house. And that was some of the most fun I've ever had playing video games, playing 5-on-5 League of Legends with people I knew. So I'm like, I want to do more of this. So started a club at my school. We started having tournaments for League of Legends at my school. It was one random summer day where I was super tilted and tired of losing at League of Legends that I hopped on Twitch while I was bored. And on the front page of Twitch, I actually was watching EVO. So EVO 2014, I want to say this was. And it was the Melee top 8 going on. And I'd played Melee all my life. Like, I have an older brother, a lot of older cousins, so every birthday party, every hangout was play Smash Bros. With everybody. I've grown up with a controller. Some of my oldest memories are playing Smash 64 when I'm like 4 years old, like unlocking NES and things like that back in the day. So after watching EVO, I whipped out my GameCube and started playing Melee again with my brother, and I brought my GameCube setup to the club I had at my high school. And then there was some other kids at my school who were down to play Melee. So in grade 10, I basically had a Melee squad at my high school who stayed my best friends all throughout high school.
So you started pretty early. In I guess you kind of had the organizer mindset from a very early age. And I guess EVO 2014, that was kind of the second year that they had Melee and or Smash in general. 2013 was the first year. And then I think that's when the famous documentary.
I was a doc kid.
You're a doc kid.
I identify as a doc kid. I watched the doc that night.
And I guess that's kind of like that exposure you had to EVO was kind of your taste into what this game could be competitively, like how good you can be at this game,
And just the scale that it was at was really inspiring to me. And yeah, how good these players were, how cool they were, the storylines of it all, and it all just got me inspired to really start grinding out the game. And then, even just having other people who are down to grind it out went so far. Like our circle of 4, we had our own internal rankings among the 4 of us and things like that. And then organizing, as you said, I've always been kind of an event organizer, like student council since like kindergarten, basically. So I was organizing school dances and charity fundraisers and all that kind of stuff my whole life. And so naturally, like organizing tournaments came pretty naturally to me.
Yeah. You were doing it from a young age, but then I guess I don't know exactly the timeline of like how you I guess you found a career in tech, and you had some time at Microsoft, and you had a pretty cushy job there. But then at one point, I imagine that you had to just kind of be like, I enjoy doing this, but there's a passion that's calling me, and you must have had to make a big decision at one point. And I don't know, can you kind of describe what that was like? And
For sure, yeah. So I started at Microsoft in August 2019, right after graduating from university. I did a double degree in business and comp sci, so it really gave me the best of both worlds to be entrepreneurial and technical. And, I really enjoyed my time at Microsoft, but it was pretty clear to me that I didn't want to be the best possible software engineer in the world. Like writing code wasn't giving me purpose. It was actually during the pandemic is when I started my own company, Gallant Gaming, and when I actually realized that like esports is such a critical part of my life, because I think it's August 2020, and I was like super depressed because the pandemic, esports went 100 to 0 for me. Because prior to the pandemic, I was running 3 events a week. I ran the Microsoft Weekly, I ran a weekly at a bar in Redmond, Washington, and then I would go into Seattle every weekend for like the bigger local tournament at GameWorks. And so esports was such a big part of my life. And then when COVID happened, I was playing Smash Ultimate at the time. Online play for that game, not it. And my character, Inkling, terrible online. So it really like disappeared from my life. And so August 2020, Slippy came out. So once Slippy came out, I'm like, oh, that's epic. I can start hosting stuff online again and start hosting actually competitive integrity, like tournaments with competitive integrity.
Yeah, netcode was like they used a rollback netcode.
Exactly.
And, it was kind of it was a great solution during a dark time where people couldn't really go and meet up and
I had to cancel Battle of BC 4. So Battle of BC 4 was supposed to be in July 2020. So we had to cancel that. So that was part of why I was so depressed in August as well. So it was just like so many different things happening, losing esports, losing all the work we put in to run this tournament. Like we'd already sold like 600 tickets, done all the work for it, and we had to cancel it all. So then I was like, Slippy came out. I'm like, I can just use this skill set online and just run sick online events, and that's what I did. But I couldn't do it as my university club, so I was like, okay, let me start my own thing. And that's when I started Gallant, and I'm like, this is really where it's at for me. And so the decision to leave Microsoft was definitely not an easy one.
Sure.
But the logic was I was 26, no wife, no kids, no real scariness in life. When else will I have the time or when else will be the right time, per se? There's never a right time, but it was the best possible time. I moved back in with my parents. Like, I was really grateful that I could do that, and I had that option. Asian parents always want their kids at home, at least Indian parents. So I moved back home, and I decided to see how far I can go. And that was October 2023 is when I decided to go full time.
Okay.
My Microsoft stock had all vested out, and so I was like, okay, like I either leave Microsoft or I change teams in Microsoft or I start my own thing. And
okay, that's so I guess you were doing Battle of BC while you were at Microsoft. Like you were doing I guess you mentioned Battle of BC 4 being canceled due to COVID, but then before that there must have been three Battle of BCs prior. I mean, do you remember the first one that you did? And
very vividly.
Yeah, and was it called Battle of BC? And
do you want the origin of Battle of BC?
Yeah, what is
Battle
the origin?
of BC started in 2016. So it was May 2016 was the first Battle of BC. I was in first year of uni. I think I was like not even 19. Yeah, I was not 19 yet. I was 18 at the time when I started Battle of
Wow.
BC, which is
Okay.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Thinking back at it, knowing what the 18-year-olds in my life are like today, I'm like, damn, Kevin.
Man.
How it started was I went to Genesis 3. Genesis 3 was my first time traveling for Melee, like on a plane. That was
Oh.
January 2016. And when I went to Genesis 3, I thought that was just the standard of what a major was. It was in a convention center. It was
Yeah.
massive. The logistics were awesome, really well organized. But like, something I didn't know at the time was like that was the best we had ever had at that point.
Yes.
But literally on that flight home from Genesis 3, I'm like, I want to start my own major. And that's what Battle of BC was. I actually came up with Battle of BC on that flight home. And it was kind of a bunch of factors that worked out really well for us. That first Battle of BC snowballed. Leffen got banned from the United States, so he was able to come to our event. And that, like, he did a
wow.
Canada tour, and we were the first one. It was us, EGLX, and Gommel. And so
Yeah.
Leffen came. I reached out to... I've always been good at reaching out to random people on the internet. So I reached out to, Homemade Waffles, Mike Hayes, SFAT, all these top Smash Bros players
Sure,
who were
yeah.
just down to come. And so Battle of BC 1 had 450 attendees on its first iteration. And it was a one-day event organized by... My entire team was like 6 people, which is kind of crazy looking back at it.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
during that time, you had Leffen on your first
Yeah.
Battle of BC. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good start for a tournament organizer. And it's very difficult to get people to come out in the first place. But when you can get star players to come out like that, that must
Yeah.
have been a very motivating thing for you. And like, oh, I can keep on doing this. I can bring it forward. And I guess the Battle of BC I went to recently was also at the same time as CEGIS, which was Battle of BC 7.
Yep.
This year, I guess a few months ago,
Yep.
right? And yeah, it's kind of gotten pretty big. And
We say grassroots to global. It went grassroots to glal scale is the
there's
tagline.
yeah, even though the Tekken tournament wasn't a TWT tour spot, there was so many Tekken players that were like really hyped to be there, and they're making a lot of noise, and they're all having such a good time. Then you had the Red Bull section that you
Kumite,
guys had a Kumite. It was one leg of the Kumite circuit.
Yep.
And they brought their own I remember I guess they provided some of their own equipment because when the tournament was over, they burst those
The Creo Jets. The Creo Jets.
Creo
I don't know
Jets. Yeah,
how
I
we
didn't even know what
think
those
about
are.
that, but
Yeah.
Creo Jets, because we weren't allowed to use confetti
Yeah.
because of the venue, but
Yeah.
Creo Jets were exception. But because it's an all concrete floor, the reverb of it was just insane. It destroyed everybody's ears.
Yeah, that was like the loudest thing I've ever heard in my life. This
I
is
got
crazy.
really
I've been
scared.
to a ton of metal concerts, and I've been next to like the speakers and stuff during those concerts. But that was scary but hilarious because you could tell everybody else is reeling from it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was that grand finals with is it Safe and Riddles,
Yep.
which was a very good match, and I think Safe got the best of Riddles. You can tell Safe really likes to mess with his opponent's minds, and
I can watch that.
yeah, and definitely he's an interesting player to watch because of that. But also Riddles.
It's so cool to see Riddles doing so well in Street Fighter. Like I've known Riddles since he was like a baby, and
Yeah.
he's come so far. And for him to be so good at Ultimate and Street Fighter and using the same characters in them a lot of the
Yeah.
times is insane to me.
Yeah, just he's the Terry player,
He's
right?
the Terry player.
And
yeah.
I have some friends who are Terry mains who look up to Riddles, and it was cool to see him play.
Yep.
And make it that far. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to France. But it was that was the first time I had seen him play live. But I think he's now going into Street Fighter full time, if I'm not mistaken.
It's crazy though because he did a retirement tweet basically for Ultimate. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be shifting my focus away from Ultimate, and literally the next week he goes to Kagaribi, the biggest tournament of all time for Ultimate, P+ tier, and he gets 9th, and he beats Spargo, and he just has a crazy run, and it's like, oh, okay, so you're just about to retire, and then you have the best run of your entire career. So
yeah, I mean, he's a great player, and I think his skills in Smash translate to Street Fighter completely. But yeah, so you have kind of you come to Korea, not too infrequently. So this is kind
Annually
of
at
like
this point.
annually at this point. So I guess I don't know, what is your kind of rapport with Korea? And I guess the way we kind of met was through Uprising.
Yep. Uprising
Yeah, I
2022.
remember Josh was
Yep.
organizing that, and Uprising 2022 was the first time you had come to Korea, and
Second
we had
time in
met.
Korea.
Or oh yeah, it was the first time I'd met you,
Mhm.
but it was your second time in Korea.
Mhm.
But I guess you had come many times
I came in
since.
2019 for the first time, and now it's my, I think, fifth time. So 2019, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, fifth
Okay,
time.
wow. What brings you here?
Every year. I love Korea so much. I have a lot of friends here in a lot
Mm-hmm.
of different circles. It feels like it's the mecca for esports as well. Like
Sure.
every time I come to Korea, I love to just bask in the esports culture here, go to the PC Bang, try and catch an LCK game. Last year I caught the LCK finals, and that
That's
was a
right.
lot of
You're a League
fun.
guy,
I
also.
love
Yeah,
League. Yeah,
yeah,
I
of
love
course.
League. So just getting to watch IRL esports in any sense is
Mm-hmm.
fun. Like I got to see ASL one time, like Josh took me, and just like seeing esports in Korea is always a lot of fun.
Yeah.
For me, right now I'm aspiring to organize more and more esports stuff in Korea. I've done 2 tournaments here so far in partnership with you guys. We did Uprising, and then
Yeah.
last year or maybe 2 years ago, Kevin and I ran like a 40-person Street Fighter and Melee tournament at your guys' office,
Oh
or in the
yeah, yeah,
studios rather,
yeah,
and that was a good time. But for me, I'd love to kind of basically re-export esports culture from North America for fighting games to
yeah.
Korea, because Korea, as much as it has esports and gaming, it doesn't have the FGC culture of NA in my mind,
For
of
sure.
like the local experience and just having people who are like that IRL community. It doesn't really exist as much as one would hope.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I basically want to see what I can do to kind of build that back here in new games, with 2XKO coming out being the big one. So
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
doing all the groundwork I possibly can to kind of rush 2XKO from Gallant's side. And so
Yeah. Yeah. I
that's what I've
mean,
been cooking on.
yeah. I guess it kind of makes sense. You come from a League
Mhm.
background. You do fighting game stuff, and Korea, mecca of esports competitive gaming. But I guess like the thing that I kind of want to ask now is like, I mean, I don't know. Do you see like a possibility that you might move to Korea or stay in Korea for an extended period of time to fulfill your tasks? I don't know, that's the next step. That's potential in my mind for what you might do. But I imagine running operations in Korea from Vancouver, even though for NA it is a pretty short flight compared to other places, it would still be kind of difficult to do that,
Yeah,
right?
I'd be happy to live in Korea. Like, I can see myself spending like 3 to 6 months a year here, basically, is
Okay.
where I'd see it. I wouldn't want to see myself living here full time year round, but
Hmm.
I can see myself for sure spending 3 to 6 months every year just doing work here, hanging out here, living here. Like, I feel very comfy in Seoul. It has everything I could ever ask for, and I have more than enough friend circles here. And yeah, I truly love it here. It's very comfortable of a place to live. So,
Yeah.
and very
Well,
cheap relative to Vancouver.
oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, when I went to Vancouver, it was like everything was very is much more expensive, obviously. But then on top of that, you have to like tip like 20%,
Oof.
and like those kiosks, like it's like you have to now you have to tip in places that you
Self-serve.
don't yeah, self-serve places. It's like, who am I tipping? Am I tipping this like iPad?
Bro, my
I'm
liquor store even has a button for it, and I'm just like, this is crazy.
at the
What?
liquor
It's
store.
the
Yeah.
liquor store. Like,
Yeah,
who am I
yeah.
tipping?
Yeah, but then I guess at that point it's kind of like for businesses it's like a why not thing. It's
Yeah.
like you don't have to do it, but
You
then the
don't have
people
to,
who
but
do, you get
somebody's
their
going
money.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, and so but then it kind of like it's kind of one of those things where just by having it does kind of, it can irk people. Like I don't know, maybe the people who have been in Vancouver or NA
No, we
are
hate it
used to it.
too.
You guys
We
hate
hate
it
it too.
too. Okay.
I'm notoriously a bad tipper among my friend group just because I hate it. Like, I will tip if the service is good. Like, if genuinely like you made an effort, I
Yeah.
will be more than happy to like tip beyond the like 15, 18. The default's 18 now, which is crazy. 18 is the
Yeah.
starting
I
point.
grew up with 15
Yeah.
in the US, in Texas, and
Yeah.
I knew that it had gone up, but I guess 18 is kind of the
18 in Canada has taxes on our food as well, so another 5 to
Ooh.
12% taxes. So like
Yeah.
your out the door price, that's something I love in Korea. The price you see is the price you pay.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Another thing I noticed when I came to Korea was that like at least like in growing up in the US, and I'm sure it's the same in Canada, where you have prices that are like, it's like 9.99, 9.98, 99 cents,
Yeah.
98 cents, and then there's like plus tax. And in Korea, just like the numbers just seem to be very much like, no, this is like 1,001.
Yep.
This is 10,001, like 8,001. There's no like
I've never
7,999
seen a
one.
9991.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just like it's a very much like a I mean, obviously it's like a marketing thing. You know, I learned I had a business class where they actually talked about the psychology of that.
We
And
price all of our merch at 99. So
99.
yeah.
So like so I heard that if you use an odd number like 99, that indicates value, and then 98 indicates like quality, like an even number. Yeah, I don't know how
And
true
then
that is.
Costco 97 means it's being discontinued.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm still like a bronze tier at Costco. I mean, I like the prices, but I don't know the secrets. Where were we?
We were just talking about Vancouver tipping culture, your visit to Vancouver, how much you enjoyed it, me moving to Korea potentially.
Yeah. So yeah, you moving to Korea potentially. I mean, this is to kind of expand your your esports ambitions, or whatever, right? It's something. So you're probably meeting with a lot of Korean esports organizations, and even government bodies. I think you've been talking with KESPA and things like that. And I guess, do you have any like specific goals in mind that do you imagine like a battle of BC Korea or anything like that, or are these is this secrets?
I'm happy to talk about what I'm trying to do, just because it will hold me continually accountable to what I'm aspiring to. And if somebody tries to copy what I'm trying to do, then all power to you. But I think my goal right now with 2XKO, like first off, Gallon's trying to rush 2XKO and be one of the global esports movers for that game. Moving horizontally is kind of the vision there. We're already very strong at organizing Smash and very well respected globally as like one of the Smash organizers. But as everybody knows, there's not much of a future in terms of the business side of Smash, especially as Nintendo continues to strangle us. So, as you called out, like League of Legends is one of my favorite games, Riot IP. I love everything about it. So 2XKO is such a natural fit for me to be pursuing. And so trying to expand horizontally into being one of the global movers for 2XKO. And so the main way I'm hoping to do that, organizing a Battle of BC in Korea, quite the undertaking. Open majors and stuff like that are a lot of freaking work. So the angle that I'm hoping to pursue is through a summit style event. So the goal for me right now is to try and organize a 2XKO summit format event in Korea. Because first off, like Korea hasn't ever had a summit style event to my understanding. And to be the guys who are running the summit style event for 2XKO would be really, really cool. And to do it in Korea is a very strategic place because then we can get the Asia talent to be involved and on board. And I think for fighting games in Asia, I think 2XKO will hopefully really, really push the bar. Yeah,
that's very interesting. So you come from a Smash background, but then like obviously, I mean, this is no secret. The way Nintendo sees Smash in terms of support for the game as like a grassroots competitive entity is not going to be the same as the way Riot treats their games. We've seen with Valorant, League of Legends, obviously, and with 2XKO, I imagine there's going to be they're going to want to encourage this kind of competitive play, and I've heard that they're interested in the grassroots.
They've been really nice to me so far. I've had a lot of conversations with Jules and Sean and the folks over at Riot to talk to them about what I'm cooking on, and so far I've been it is a night and day reaction to how I feel my conversations with Nintendo goes. And they're sharing the enthusiasm. And, I have had my worries because, as you called it, like Riot has had their fair share of not so great interactions with their competitive communities. But I think with 2XKO, they have the right people in like the positions of power to lead this stuff. And they're trying to do everything right by the FGC. From my understanding, they're really working with people who are endemic to the scene and really investing in like making sure that the players and the creators and all of that stuff really believe in it and playing fair with them. And so I feel confident that they're going to continue to play nice.
I mean, I did an interview maybe a couple years back with Tom Cannon, and that was one of the questions I asked, and it seems like they are kind of going the direction of supporting like the FGC style of community and growing it. So, I mean, that's all exciting, and I guess so. I'm wondering, have you got a chance to really get into 2XKO, the game itself? I mean, I know you've been at the Evos.
I played in
I'm
the
sure you've
first
played
alpha.
it.
I
Yeah.
played in the first alpha. I gotta say, it was really hard for me.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't come from a like in terms of 2D fighters. Like, I mean, Street Fighter 6, like I'm good at, but I've never been good at an anime fighter. I
Hmm.
never really played the like Marvel vs. Capcoms or things like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
So it was quite the challenge. Like, and I didn't have the time during that first alpha lab. It was a really busy time that I couldn't really like grind out learning
Well, it's hard
training
to
mode
because like you
combos.
have to wait in line and play. You get to play a certain
Yep.
amount, and then like you don't want to hog the setup, and then
Yeah.
there's like very few. And then yeah, I remember, and it's like it is one of those games where when I the amount of times that I've played, I just want to like sit with this game and just lab out stuff and like learn stuff.
Yeah.
There's definitely a big mental stack in that game because there's a lot of nothing in that game is hard individually, but all the things that you can do make you wonder what you could have done at any given moment,
Yep.
right? Because there's so many different things that you could do offensively and defensively, and I think it's going to be a crazy deep game. But yeah, there's a lot of people that are kind of on the other side. They're like, oh, is this really the accessible game that they've kind of shown it as, right?
Yep.
And there's some accessible like aspects of the game, but then it's also a crazy deep game. And when you start seeing people play it at high levels, you can definitely see like there's like some legacy skill
Yep.
that carried over from
Yeah, like
experience with Marvel and anime games.
Yeah, I mean, like when we did, so we've done a 2XKO event already during the Alpha Lab. We did the Gallant Double Knockout series last year. It had about 300 participants, and like who won? It was like the top players were like Diaphony and Super New and then
Sure.
Leffen, because like those guys are already really good at this style of game, right?
Of course,
So
yeah.
it does carry over. One thing I'm really excited for with 2XKO and just like curious how it's gonna go is like all the doubles stuff. Like this
Yeah.
Summit style event, I want to do it as doubles, right? Like
Yeah.
I want doubles to be the main event at this. And so I'm really curious how that's all going to take, because we're already seeing some amount of flip-floppiness on like how people feel about doubles in this game.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too because if you look at FGC and Smash, these are kind of games that cultivate divas, right? Everyone's a diva in this. It's like the
Your
Queen's Gambit
protagonist
line.
energy, right?
Yeah. It's a 1v1 game most of the time. I know in Smash there's doubles in Smash, which makes it unique from most of the traditional FGC titles. But I guess you've probably seen the power of like what doubles can do and the hype that it can generate, the type of hype that you wouldn't have in like a 1v1 style. Do you think that's kind of something that inspired you to be more interested in the 2v2 aspect of 2XKO?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think doubles is such a magical game format in the games that allow for doubles. Like, I am a big believer in melee doubles. I love melee doubles, and I think that there's even so much depth to it and so
I
much
played
that
melee doubles in a tournament before, and
Absolutely love it.
I went 2-0 with my, or no, 2
Oh,
and 2, 2 and
Oh,
2,
2 and 2.
2 and 2 with my team. Yeah.
See, and
So,
that's another thing is just like the synergy of you with your friend. I think doubles is a big thing for accessibility as well in these games, right?
Yes.
Like to have somebody who's literally in the game with you, able to support you, give you mid-game coaching, mid-game feedback, and play off of them is really nice. And I'm really excited to see where it kind of goes with 2XKO. I think it can lead to some really cool moments, and I hope that the community doesn't throw doubles by the wayside. We've seen that happen in a lot of games. Like Ultimate Doubles, not a real format. People fucking hate it.
Oh,
So
really? Okay.
yeah. But that's just because it's implemented poorly. But
Okay, yeah.
can't like move through your partner and stuff. But
Yeah.
For 2XKO, people are also super hype about like 1v2 hybrid stuff. Like, I think the balancing of doubles in a game like 2XKO is really cool to me because it's double the opportunities for you to have different mix-ups. Like, each player has a different play style, right? And
Yeah.
so you have to adapt to each player basically. But if you're 1v2, then like you have more time to adapt to both players because you get to fight both of them. Like, I think there is depth to hybrid, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really excited to see what doubles holds. And I think doubles will also be cool for esports teams as well. because
Yeah,
like
yeah.
esports teams then get to pick up a roster of 2 players and things like that.
Yeah, traditionally, I mean, it's whenever you have FGC stuff, what you see happening all the time is you get a couple of top players on your team, and they have to kill each other in the top 16 or top 8. They have to fight each other to get into the top 8.
Yeah.
It's kind of a sad reality of having a 1v1 esport or whatever, and so. So I guess this kind of does give the opportunity for teams to maybe have show the 2 players playing together, and yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be something that's going to be a bit new, big in the space, because I know, I mean, obviously there have been games that have had this kind of duo mode kind of thing, but they're not like a ton. I think Street Fighter Cross Tekken is one of those, and they actually did that tournament. It's kind of crazy to see like 4 people like in a camera angle like with arcade sticks. That was interesting. I think this is going to come back with 2XKO, but I feel like it's now this is kind of more of like a Marvel style game format with the way the assists work and the way switching works, and so and they're solving the problem of like you can play when you're not on the screen, which is something Street Fighter Cross Tekken didn't have. So
you're not just AFK,
yeah. So I think they put a lot of thought into it, but I guess we're gonna have to see how that unfolds, and I think they also one of the big changes they made recently. I noticed in Alpha Lab 2 was the Juggernaut mode. You mentioned the 1v2 kind of thing, and I'm wondering how that's kind of now it's starting to feel like CVS 2, where you can have like it's a 3v3 game. But you can also like have one tank Sagat.
I'm worried about like Riot in the past in some of their games has been reactionary on their balancing and just adapting to the loud complainers.
I've kind of noticed that as well, yeah.
And I'm a little bit worried about that for 2XKO because like if people do start complaining about 2v2 and like doubles and saying it's lame and things like that, then like Riot might reactionary. Like even this Juggernaut thing, I think that it's like counterintuitive to what they're trying to go for with this game and the premise of this game. So like I hope that they keep it in the spotlight because it could very easily go to being a jokey game mode or the for fun game mode to play doubles.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of there's a double-edged sword to listening to the audience or the community, because I know there's like, I don't know who said this, but there's kind of a saying of how listen to the problem, but don't listen to the people's solutions, right? So I think there's a lot of truth to that. I get a lot of feedback, and people tell me how I should make my videos, and I mean, people have done this for a long time, right? And so, and I think it's good sound advice. But what ends up happening though, if you listen too much to your audience, then you don't have your vision with what you're making, and and the solution to a problem, there's many solutions to problems. And the solutions that people suggest are usually pretty god-awful. Like, solutions that people suggest are terrible usually because they're not in the situation you're in. They're not making the thing. So they don't know that solution that they proposed will break 10 other things because they don't know the inner workings of it, right? But, online, the internet, everyone has their own opinion. But I think what it is useful for is people talking about what the issue is, right? Combos are too long, right? So combos are too long. You can make the combo shorter. You can make the juggle states less. You can do all sorts of things with that. But it's at one point somebody needs to step in and say like, no, this is what's good. This is what's right, and I'm going to make it this way. And I don't care what you think, right? And if you look at like film directors, like the
Sakurais of the world, right? Like, I mean, with Smash, like Sakurai, like he just does it all himself for so long, right? And it's his vision, and he has a clear vision. And I believe in Sean, like Sean Rivera, the game director for 2X. Like, he's a very strong, opinionated guy on this stuff. He is also very caring. Thing is, he is really nice, as we were just saying, right? Like, so he does.
I don't know if he's nice. He when I visited him, he kicked my ass in Tekken and made fun of me the whole time.
Oh no. Okay, he's been a sweetheart to me, but I think that he has clear visions for what the game should be about and what's important for him in the game. And as long as he keeps consistent on strong on like what's important to him about 2X, like I think that's the longer term vision. Because as you said, this game has so much depth to it, right? Like how we feel about the game in the early stages, like it might not be the same game in 4 months, even without patches. We'll just figure shit out. So.
Yeah, no, that's that's a good point. And I think what they're kind of doing with this game is, so I think they're gonna, I mean, they have to release it pretty soon, right? Nobody knows when, but
my guess is October, November 2025, but that's just my guess.
Yeah, but who knows? It's but yeah, it's been in development for so long, and yeah, when they release the game, it's a free to play game, and they mentioned 10 characters on release, which is kind of like for a 2v2 tag game.
Roster.
That is a small roster. I think that's objectively a small roster for a 2v2 tag game. But that kind of indicates to me that they're gonna release the game, and they're just gonna keep on developing it, and the players are gonna be the people who are playing early on. They're gonna be kind of like the testers, right? In a way, and they're gonna help develop the game together. And in the with the fact that they're trying to kind of listen to community feedback, I think it goes this kind of goes along with what they're trying to do. It looks like to me, because they're with 10 characters, they're trying to they're trying to feel things out, I imagine, when the game comes out. And I think it's the thing with a lot of fighting games too, is if you look at like early releases, Tekken 7, Street Fighter 5, when the game first comes out, even Street Fighter 4 to an extent, the game changes a lot during its life cycle. And when the game changes, it's usually based on how people have received the game thus far, right? There'll be certain things that people are like, well, this is cool, but I want I'd rather have it this way, and there will be community feedback. But I guess the tricky thing is where do you stop listening to the audience, and then when do you start listening to the audience? Because like with I make content, right, for YouTube, and people will be like, just don't. Who cares what anyone says ever about anything? And,
I mean, as a tournament organizer, right? Everybody complains about something, but if they really knew like why it has to be the way it has to be, or like why we can't do all best of 7, blah,
tournament
bullshit,
organizing,
right?
but that's actually on another level.
On steroids.
No, that tournament organizing, it's like so many the people just they see something and they don't know what's going on.
They don't know why things are the way they are.
Yeah, like some people are just kind of like, I feel like some people just don't know that venues cost money. Like it's like. Yeah, just like,
Us greedy TOs, man.
Yeah, greedy TOs. Like, it's like they don't understand like the time, and it's not like people are making bank off of this stuff. Like,
I think the scary thing for tournament organizing that people don't friggin' realize is that like almost all these tournaments are run on somebody's personal risk, basically. It's on the head. If Battle of BC flops, and when Battle of BC has flopped financially, you know whose pocket it comes out of? Mine. I'm sure same with Jabali with CEOs, and with all Tong's efforts with TNS, right?
Yes.
Like it's just people willing to take on that risk because they care about doing these things to the point where if it doesn't work out, they're willing to, fund it and support it, because who else is going to take those risks to put those things together?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's kind of a offensive line syndrome. I don't know. I mean, you're Canadian, so maybe you don't know.
I'm not that big on football, no.
Yeah, but in the NFL, there's like a position on the team called the offensive line, and they often don't get credit if they're doing a good job, because they're just supposed to be able to like hold the defensive line from coming in and sacking the quarterback. But then the moment that they mess up, they're like, oh yeah, he was like, the offensive line was not doing their job.
For everything a tournament organizer does right, for the 99 things they do right, that one thing they do wrong is the thing that somebody's going to call out on Twitter and be really upset about.
And that's not how, like, I mean, audiences are ruthless, right? But like it definitely, like, it would be nice if audiences can be like, all right, this stuff went well, but this one thing didn't, right? Instead of being like, okay, this one thing didn't go well and everything is garbage now, right? It's like all or nothing kind of mindset, and you see that online. I don't know, like how do you deal with that? Like that's one of the hardest things. I've talked to a lot of tournament organizers. I've talked to them, on this podcast. I've talked to them, off the record. And a common theme is this, right? It's a very much like there's always going to be something that goes wrong.
Yep.
That's unavoidable. And you have to fix the fires.
Yeah.
And then hope that by the end of it, it wasn't too badly burnt.
For me, it's like it's if the end user doesn't feel it, if like every event has problems, right? Every single event. But my goal is just try and make it so that the attendees don't feel it. And as long as the attendees had a great time and it was clear that they didn't feel the fire or the impacts of the fires, it's no problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, if you're not down to be a firefighter as a tournament organizer, you're not down to be a tournament organizer, right?
Yeah,
good tournament organizers, the whole thing is dealing with the bullshit in the moment of. And like some of the stress can be like level 12 fire situation, but like you just have to deal with it the show must go on, right? So, and it's all on your shoulders to continue that show going on.
Yeah. And then at the end, like, let's say, even if you did do everything right, maybe it wasn't profitable that time or something, it's just like, it's such a thankless, difficult.
Yeah.
And so like, this is why I was so curious about, like, I mean, you're young and, you want to get into this thing and, but then at the same time, you've kind of left a very, a comfortable and I assume, well-paying job. And so like, it's an exciting thing to pursue this.
I think it was a little bit crazy thinking about it, right? It is not like the smartest decision by like a lot of metrics to go full time on something like this.
I went into filmmaking. It's like that's don't do that. Anyone listening, just turn around, we'll do a 180. It's like,
for me, it's like I think I can always go back to having a normal job someday if I wanted to.
Sure,
right? And like
you definitely can.
The experiences I'm getting now, for me, like even if everything I've done like somehow crashes and burns, God forbid, like the things that I have done, these experiences, these memories, these things the memories I've made for these thousands of people, like that can't ever be taken away. And so many people tell me like every Battle of BC for people is like a core memory for them. And even for me, I think back at every one of these events, it's like a core memory in my life. Every single Battle of BC was a time in my life, a different age, a different situation in life every single time. And like, I can see myself having grown up through it. I think
it's the there's a gratification.
Yes.
There's like something you can be proud of.
Yes.
Right? And you know that you've made a difference in people's lives. Yep. And this is something that goes unsaid a lot of times actually it goes said. People talk about this on social media, but it just doesn't get amplified because the stuff that does get amplified is kind of the negative stuff. So there's tons of people saying this kind of stuff, but that's not the thing that gets like thousands and thousands of likes. Yep. It's the thing that like, oh my God, the setups for garbage or, whatever. That's the thing that like, floats to the top. And so there is kind of a skewed perception of, how everything really, not just tournaments, but I just feel like in the online space, it's very skewed.
For me, I'm really grateful that people are down to respond to our feedback forums. Like at the end of Battle BC, every time we do feedback forums, and that's where I usually feel like I get the best actual feedback. They're anonymous, and when I see the results of those, like for like 3 years in a row, it's been like 91, like 89 to 91 has been like out of 100 is like the net score basically people have given it. And like that means a lot to me. And I see all the verbatims of people literally telling me like, this was the best time of my life ever. Thank you guys so much. Like I go through and I read all of them and it means that's where I get my little flowers, I guess.
Yeah. And this is what TOs do it for because there's so many downsides, right? There's so much stress. But that's a good point you made because that's when you have those comment cards or whatever. There's no agenda there. Yep. It's not a social media thing. Like when someone takes the time to write comments and feedback on like a forum or especially if it's physical, this is not going to be something that goes out into the public that people will see. And there's no gaming as an algorithm to get more views. It really comes from the person's heart of what they really want to say. And so it's a very unfiltered, it's a very genuine, authentic message. I imagine that kind of feedback hits very differently from the online feedback that you get sometimes, right?
For sure. And like I always have to just remind myself a lot of the online stuff isn't real. Like a lot of these people aren't freaking real. It feels like a lot of the times they're not people at the event. They're not people who actually have a meaningful bearing on any of this stuff. I think really it's for me, I'm grateful that the people who go to Battle of BC every year like
Mm-hmm.
know how special
Yeah.
it is for them, right? Like it's the peak of what we have in our community, and so many years of it going success. Like I think it's taken for granted for sure by some people that like
Sure.
every year has just been awesome. Like the
Yeah.
fires, like the fact that we've consistently now for like 7 iterations just had it run well is
Yeah.
like definitely something I'm really proud of, and I'm not trying to gloat myself here, but like it's really cool. But I'm grateful that I get my flowers on the weekend off. Like
Yeah.
I kind of joke on this, but I think it's actually also true that the boat party we do, our after party, is the reason Battle of BC happens every year. Because
Yeah.
on that after party, on that boat, when everybody is having literally like a movie level experience, lit
Yeah.
AF, just like
Yeah.
vibing, I can't walk more than like 10 seconds without someone coming up to me telling me how great a time they're having. And like,
Yeah. Yeah.
sorry, for me, that means a lot. So,
Yeah, no,
yeah.
that's yeah, I know TOs firsthand. That's definitely the reason why they do it. Because yeah, I mean most TOs it's you know it's yeah, like I said, they're not making
I
bank.
really wish this stuff made the money that we like, especially in like our space with fighting games. Like, I know how important these environments are for these people.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
a lot of these people don't have other hobbies is
Sure,
something I've
yeah.
learned, right? Like this is their thing, right? And so to give them that space to experience it on this level is really special. But I do hope that our scene can figure out some sustainability in some ways.